The headlines for this hour on VTV News. Vietnam, Azerbaijan established strategic partnership. And resolving difficulties in public investment disbursement. And India-Pakistan conflict escalates.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello, it's 3 p.m. local time in Hanoi. You're watching VTV News. On Wednesday night, Vietnam time, Azerbaijan President Ilham Heydar Aliyev and his spouse hosted a solemn welcoming ceremony for Party General Secretary Tolam and his spouse in the capital city of Baku, Azerbaijan. Following the ceremony, the leaders held talks. Building on the two-country existing cooperative relationship, both sides agreed to establish a strategic partnership through a joint statement. This agreement creates opportunity to strengthen bilateral relations, leveraging each country's strength for rapid and sustainable development. The leaders agreed to enhance meetings and exchanges, particularly between the Communist Party of Vietnam and Azerbaijan's ruling party and other political parties. They also committed to implementing existing high-level agreements and mechanisms. On Thursday morning, Prime Minister Phie held a full call with Mr. Lawrence Wong, Secretary General of the People's Action Party, PAP, and Prime Minister of Singapore. Prime Minister Phie congratulated Singapore on its successful 14 parliamentary elections and the PAP victory. He proposed strengthening economic cooperation and expanding Singaporean investment in Vietnam, particularly in high technology, renewable energy, smart infrastructure, sustainable urban development, and seaport development. Both Prime Ministers agreed to push their ministries and sectors to implement key outcomes from recent high-level visits. They also committed to mutual support in multilateral forums, especially ASEAN and APEC. On Thursday morning, the plenary session discussed the amended draft law on chemicals. The session praised the draft law revisions, which align with party and state policies on chemical industry development. However, deputies emphasized that the chemical industry poses significant risks that require strict management to protect people, the environment, and the economy. National Assembly deputies suggested that the law should tightly control the purchase, sale, and use of chemicals. They also called for strict prohibitions on toxic chemicals that contaminate water sources and clearer definitions of organizational and individual responsibility regarding chemical safety. 7 ministries and 2 localities have reported low public investment disbursement due to investor inactions and delayed in compensation and resettlement. Working Group number 2 of the government identified these issues, noting disbursement rate below the national average. In response, Deputy Prime Minister Trần Hồng Hà has met with leaders from 16 ministries, agencies, and localities to address these bottlenecks.
These 16 units under Task Force number 2 have been allocated over $10.12 billion in total capital, accounting for nearly 30% of the country's total public investment plan. However, the disbursed capital has only reached approximately 16% of the assigned target, lagging behind the national average. Notably, 9 ministries, central agencies, and localities are experiencing delays in both capital allocation and disbursement.
Some projects encompass both construction components and scientific research equipment, leading to a longer than anticipated project preparation phase.
To accelerate public investment disbursement, ministries, sectors, and localities have proposed that the Ministry of Finance continue to review and amend regulations related to the law on public investment and the land law. They also suggest simplifying procedures for adjusting and transferring capital between projects to align with practical implementation.
The Ministry of Finance will fully consider all proposals. By the 10th of this month, the government office will compile a report for the Deputy Prime Minister's signatures. We are also addressing the issue of ODA capital adjustments, National Target Program funds, and the transfer of funds from this year to next year.
The Deputy Prime Minister also directed the Ministry of Construction to urgently review 1 to 500 scale detailed plans to ensure project feasibility. He made it clear that if units fail to disperse their allocated capital, the government will redistribute those funds to projects that can use them effectively, preventing resources from remaining idle.
The Vietnamese government is taking steps to support the private sector, particularly small and medium-sized enterprises (FNE), through the recent issuance of Resolution number 68. This resolution focuses on improving credit mechanisms and prioritizing commercial loans for SMEs, industries, enterprises, and startups. Despite the banking sector offering preferential credit packages, SMEs still struggle to access capital, with their share of outstanding loans remaining at the modest 18%, despite representing 97% of businesses in the country.
In an effort to upgrade its production line and reduce emissions, this paper company has invested over $2 million in a new eco-friendly system. To fund this transition, the company had to take out long-term bank loans at an annual interest rate of 7.8%.
Currently, interest rates are relatively stable, but we hope they can be lowered further. A 1% reduction in interest rates would save us around $200,000 in annual interest payments.
Most small and medium-sized enterprises struggle to access bank loans due to a lack of collateral. Banks, in return, are cautious, only offering unsecured loans to businesses with strong credit histories. As a result, many experts are calling for more flexible lending conditions to help unlock their growth potential.
Even with a stable business model, innovative companies like ours struggle to meet the requirements for unsecured or mortgage loans due to the lack of collateral.
Due to the high level of risk, startups face challenges accessing capital since no dedicated institutions are willing to lend to them. Even companies with several years of operating history struggle to provide sufficient collateral.
To address issues with securing collateral, businesses are urging banks to expand cash flow-based lending. Although some banks now offer these credit packages, the number of enterprises able to access them remains limited.
Loans can be issued based on supply chains, directly to raw material suppliers or consumers purchasing products at preferential interest rates. Under this model, the bank manages credit throughout the entire chain, from input materials to production and services. This eliminates the need for businesses to provide collateral.
Beyond bank loans, businesses are advocating for enhanced corporate credit guarantee and business development funds. They seek clearer legal frameworks and streamlined procedures to facilitate easier access to much-needed capital.
Vietnam's total export and import turnover reached over $276 billion in the first 4 months of this year, marking a 15.7% increase compared to the same period last year. Both exports and imports saw significant growth, with a trade surplus nearing $3.8 billion. This continued surplus demonstrates that businesses continue to grow despite global economic fluctuations.
This packaging export factory has seen a surge in orders, with increases ranging from 30% to 200% in the first 4 months of the year. Major markets, including the US and European countries, have ramped up their packaging imports. In response, the company has invested in dozens of new machines and hired additional workers to meet the growing demand.
American customers are seeking tax reductions by lowering prices by 3 to 5%. We can still meet the needs of our foreign and American customers.
During the first 4 months of 2025, Vietnam exports included 22 items that exceed $1 billion in turnover, with electronic machinery, textiles, and leather and footwear leading the way. Production materials dominated imports at $128 billion, representing nearly 94% of total imports, a clear indication that production growth continues to trend positively.
Imported goods continue to be the primary driver of growth. particularly processed and assembled items such as equipment, spare parts, textiles, and footwear.
To help streamline procedures for import-export enterprises and address international trade changes, the Ministry of Industry and Trade launched 11 fully electronic certificates of origin in early May. This shift to digital processing eliminates lengthy paper-based procedures.
By digitizing the declaration, inspection, and control processes, I believe that by 2025, import and export businesses will meet the targets set by the government.
Moreover, ministries and agencies will streamline bureaucracy by eliminating unnecessary paperwork and delegating certain tasks to local authorities to better support businesses. Meanwhile, export companies are developing strategies to manage market fluctuations and diversify their markets, reducing potential risk.
And before moving on to some other news, let's take a look at foreign exchange rate for today, May the 8th. Coming up next on VTV News, United Nations Vag's 2025 celebration concludes. And searches for Vietnam tourism increase. The United Nations Vag's 2025 celebration concluded today at the Vietnam Buddhist Academy in Ho Chi Minh City. Under the theme Solidarity and Tolerance for Human Dignity, Buddhist Wisdom for World Peace and Sustainable Development, this marked Vietnam's fourth time hosting this significant event. Throughout the three-day festival, over 2,700 delegates participated in the various activities, including the International Scientific Conference and Buddhist cultural exhibitions. The celebration represented a convergence of global spiritual and cultural values, embodying the universal wisdom of Buddhism. The 2025 United Nations Day of Vag, hosted this year by Vietnam, is capturing the hearts of Vietnamese Buddhists across the globe. From bustling cities in Europe to quiet streets in Japan, Buddhist devotees are joining in spirit with those in Vietnam to witness the Buddhist community's most important event of the year.
It was 3 a.m. in Paris when Vietnamese writer and longtime Buddhist Theo Constant, known by her Dharma name Quang Hiet, tuned into the live broadcast of the 2025 United Nations Day of Vag from Ho Chi Minh City. She'd been counting down the days to this moment and watched proudly through Vietnam's television's VTV livestream.
It's the fourth time Vietnam has hosted the global Vesak celebration. I got really emotional. This year's message felt especially powerful, and when I heard that relics of the Buddha had been brought from India to Vietnam for this event, it made me so proud. It shows that our government truly supports the spiritual lives of its people.
Half a world away in Japan, Vietnamese Buddhist pagodas are coming alive. Monks and nuns are decorating space with festive flags and flower arrangements to celebrate Vesak.
Even though we can't return to Vietnam for the celebration, our hearts are always with it. Here in Japan, we've built altars, we're planning processions, and we're opening Dharma classes. It's about honoring the Buddha and deepening our commitment to his teachings, even while we live far from home.
We try to live the Vesak spirit every day, being sincere, listening to each other, and showing compassion at home and at work. That's how we offer our devotion to the Buddha.
As Vesak 2025 unfolds in Vietnam, Vietnamese Buddhist communities around the world are participating in heart and spirit. This will help bring greater awareness of Vietnam's vibrant Buddhist tradition to the world.
On May 7, 2025, New York time, the United Nations General Assembly held an official session at UN headquarters to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the World War II and history's most catastrophic war that brought untold pain and loss to humanity. At the ceremony, member states reflected that 80 years provides sufficient perspective to reassess peace's true value. They emphasize that nations must cherish these decades of achievement to prevent such a conflict from recurring. The United Nations itself emerged from the war conclusions, and countries praised the vision behind its establishment. Throughout history, the UN has steered the world away from numerous potential conflicts by bringing nations together in dialogue. On this occasion, Vietnam calls on countries to strengthen multilateral cooperation, international solidarity, and uphold international law, especially the principle of the United Nations Charter.
The Charter's core principles.
The Union Welfare Point is a store established by trade unions in industrial zones to sell goods at discounted, stable prices for union members, workers, public servants, and laborers. A new welfare point recently opened at Linh Trung 1 Export Processing Zone, one of the key zones in Ho Chi Minh City. And this opening marks the beginning of the 2025 Workers' Month for the City Export Processing and Industrial Zones Union.
The Union Welfare Point offers a comfortable shopping space stocked with thousands of essential items. The store primarily features high-quality Vietnamese products at prices 5 to 30% below market rates. As the first such store in Linh Trung 1 Industrial Zone, its opening was eagerly anticipated by over 30,000 workers.
I was really glad to see this store open. It's so convenient for us workers. I can easily buy quality products after my shift.
After picking up his child after his shift, Da and his sons were among the first customers at the new Union Welfare Point. Using an opening day voucher, the family purchased essential household items.
I picked up some fish sauce and instant noodles for the family and some sweet treats for the kids. It would be great if there were also fresh meat and produce for workers to pick up on their way home from work.
This is the first welfare point in this zone, and we're ready to build more if needed. Our aim is to establish a welfare point in every export processing zone to meet our workers' needs.
150 unions from 17 export processing and industrial zones across the city will collaborate to establish more welfare points and enhance their service quality.
In just over a month, several sinkholes have appeared in Hiệp Lực Hamlet, Nari District, Bắc Cạn Province, raising severe concerns among residents. Initial assessment by local authorities and experts suggest that the cause may be geological factors combined with excessive groundwater ejections. But while solutions to mitigate the consequences of the subsidence and prevent possible risks remain challenging.
7 sinkholes have been reported in Bắc Cạn Province. They appeared across rice fields and along National Highway 3B. At the bottom of the sinkholes, underground water flows and underlying voids were discovered. Many wells in the area have run dry, turning residents' lives upside down as they face a shortage of clean water.
Before the sinkholes appeared, the water here was crystal clear. Now it's muddy and dirty.
We've never experienced a drought like this before. Locals are advised to save and pump water to keep their crops alive.
Preliminary geological surveys indicate that the area has layers of clastic sediment mixed with weathered limestone. These formations are highly fractured and host numerous karstic voids containing underground water. In addition, the overpumping of groundwater for farming may have lowered the water table, triggering the recent sinkholes.
We are facing difficulties determining the cause of the recent sinkholes. We need to assess the full scope of the subsurface voids to find suitable measures.
The Provincial Department of Construction is working with relevant agencies and local authorities to declare a state of emergency. Such measures as relocating residents and filling sinkholes must be carried out immediately.
While local authorities have mobilized efforts to address the issue, residents are still living in fear, as they are unsure when or where the next sinkhole might appear.
Searches for Vietnam tourism have increased by 10 to 25% since the beginning of the year, helping the country secure 7th place in global rankings, according to Google Destination Insight. Vietnam stands as the only Southeast Asian destination in the top 10 searches. The country attracts international visitors through its diverse offerings, including culture, nature, and islands tourism, as well as its open visa policy. We have next in our world news. India-Pakistan conflicts escalate. And Russia and Venezuela establish strategic partnership. In South Asia, tension between India and Pakistan continue to rise. India launched a barrage of 24 missiles targeting 9 sites in Pakistan and the Pakistan-administered Kashmir region. The strikes were in retaliation for a deadly April 22nd terrorist attack that left 25 Indian civilians dead. New Delhi claimed it has eliminated 70 militants and described the site hits as terror hubs, which are alleged is backed by the Pakistani government. Pakistan in turn say at least 26 civilians were killed and has accused India of gross violations of international law. The country's National Security Council held an emergency meeting and is calling for global accountability. Leaders from the US, EU, Russia, and China are urging both nations to exercise restraint and resolve the crisis through diplomacy, warning that continued escalation risks a full-scale war. Russia and Venezuela are deepening their ties. On an official visit to Moscow, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a new agreement on Wednesday, establishing a strategic partnership between the two nations. The deal includes commitment to closer diplomatic dialogue, joint defense and counter-terrorism cooperation, and a united stand against unilateral sanctions. It also paved the way for expanded mining and healthcare projects. Venezuela now joins Iran and North Korea as one of just 3 nations with this level of strategic alliance with Moscow. On Wednesday in Moscow, Red Square, 69 soldiers from the 1st Army Officer School of the Vietnam People's Army participated in the rehearsal for the military parade commemorating the 80th anniversary of victory in the Great Patriotic War. The group had previously trained at the Albino training ground, located approximately 100 kilometers from central Moscow, before joining the combined rehearsal at Red Square. The official ceremony scheduled for Friday is anticipated to be the largest in history. Vietnam's bloc is 8th among the 13 participating nations in the parade. On Thursday morning, South Korea said North Korea fired a series of short-range ballistic missiles into the sea off its eastern coast. According to South Korea Joint Chief of Staff, the launch reportedly included multiple types of missiles and originated from the eastern port city of Wonsan. Some of the missiles travel as far as 800 kilometers. In response, South Korea quickly convened a meeting of its National Security Council to assess the situations and discuss potential responses. The missiles attack marks Pyongyang's first missile test since March 10th and comes as the U.S. and South Korea continue to join military drills in the region. Dawn broke over St. Peter's Square in Vatican City on Thursday, May 8th, as Roman Catholic cardinals prepared to begin the second day of the Papal conclave to elect their church's new leader. The conclave first ballot on Wednesday failed to select a new pope, yet the Catholic faithful remain steadfast in their vigils at the Vatican.
Thousands of Catholic faithful gathered in St. Peter's Square waiting for smoke to pour from a narrow flue on the roof of the Vatican Sistine Chapel on Wednesday. Many said they were excited about the prospect of a new pope.
Very excited. It's a very important moment for all the Catholic faithful. It doesn't matter what color the smoke is. Right now, the important thing is to pray for the next Pope to come. Whoever he is surely sent by the Holy Spirit.
Selecting a new pope is a process that involves 133 cardinals who sequester inside the chapel to vote on a successor to Pope Francis. However, black smoke, indicating no pope had been selected in the first vote of the conclave, came from the chapel's chimney at 9 p.m. local time, 2 hours later than expected and more than 3 hours after the start of the conclave.
Oh, it was long. It was a long wait. We I think we got here at 5:45, and then I think we got to see the smoke at 9 p.m. So yeah, it was a long way.
Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow to see the smoke again, and hopefully we see who's the new Papa.
White smoke will emerge when a pope is chosen, though this was not expected on Wednesday. No pontiff had been selected on the first day of a conclave in modern times.
And now, as usual, let's continue with the weather forecast. And that's all the news for today. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.